Hi, I'm Miss Jenny, and I'm here today to talk to you about Courseware. So, Courseware is a program we have through Edmentum, which many of you have probably used at previous schools. And if you haven't, it's not very difficult, so don't be afraid of it. And we use Courseware primarily for classes that we don't offer in person. For example, we don't have PE in person, we don't have health in person. And so we need something that's called a credit recovery class, and that's what's on the computer for you to be able to get those credits that Indiana requires for their diploma. We also use Courseware for classes that we may not be offering at a certain time. For example, we have economics that can be taken when you take financial foundations, but financial foundations isn't offered that every term. So if it's not and you need to take econ, you can take it on a credit recovery platform like Edmentum. You can also use Courseware Edmentum to double up on classes. So some students have 4 classes, they're here all day, and then they also have online classes, these credit recovery classes, that they're doing at home, maybe during a resource period, that type of thing. So it can be used in lots of different ways. The way to get into it is you'll go in through your Clever login and you'll see Edmentum, and it looks like a E in a circle, okay, a circle E, and you'll get in there and you'll click. And you should have a list of the classes that your coach has assigned to you. If you ever question the classes that are on there, your coach is who you would go see. Primarily, we have you just with 2 classes on there at one time. Again, there are exceptions depending on the student situation. So once you get into Courseware, you'll see your classes. One thing we recommend is if you're taking, let's say you're taking U.S. History A and B, you'll want to do A first and then do B. Or you could even do B first and then go back to A. We just don't want you bouncing around. So get in, finish one class, and then move on to the next. Each class, besides PE's kind of iffy in some places and health is still a little weird, but the classes generally have a tutorial that you have to go through and watch. And we have headphones, or you can use earbuds, excuse me, or listen to it out loud, however you prefer. And then you'll have a 5-question, it's called a mastery test, mastery quiz, mastery test over that tutorial. And you have to score an 80%. That means you have to get 4 out of 5. After you do the units, so you'll do tutorials and then the mastery tests, after that there is a post-test. And a post-test should have a grade of 70% or greater. And it follows the same. If you don't pass it with the 70, you go back and you can take it again, okay, until you get that score. When you get to the end of your class, you'll have a final exam, and that has to be unlocked by your coach. And then there are certain teachers that can unlock that also. Final exams do typically have about 30 to 40 questions on them, and you do have to get the 70% on those. Once you're done, you'll make sure that all your circles are blue. So when you're looking at your courseware, all your circles need to be blue. All of the mastery tests need to be 80% or greater. The post tests and final have to be 70% or greater. And when you see all that done, notify your coach that you have completed that class. And they will make sure that that information gets put into the computer and into your grades, and you get credit for that. When you get into your tutorials, you'll see on the side there's a little folder, and it looks like how a typical computer folder looks, and it has resources. There are guided notes that you can have your coach or certain teachers print off, and they're kind of fill in the blanks. So you just, as you go through the tutorial, they go in order of the tutorial, you fill in the blanks, and then you can use that on the mastery tests, on the post tests, and on the finals. There's also vocabulary sheets that you can print off and fill those in and have those ready to use on any mastery tests or post tests. Another thing that you can do inside Courseware is have the text read to you. On the side where you have the folder and the vocabulary and guided notes section, there's a little speaker voice, and you can hit that and it will read the text to you. It also has a highlighter option if you want to highlight and remember the information. It shows you your grades. Pay attention to the current grade, not the course grade, because until you're finished with the entire course. The current grade is going to tell you what your grade is at that point. The course grade is counting the stuff that you haven't done yet as zeros. So it's not going to be an accurate representation of what your grade is. So look at current grade, not course grade. If you finish the course with your 80% and 70% where you need them, you will pass the class. So as long as you're doing that, you don't need to worry about grades, really just worry about those scores. Resource periods are a wonderful time to work on courseware. A lot of you will be scheduled into what we call a resource period. It's like a study hall. Excuse me. You can use that. We always say do classwork before courseware. Okay, make sure your classwork is done because that has due dates. Courseware, like we said, is self-paced, so you don't have to get that done in a certain time. But if you are all caught up on your classwork, resource is a wonderful time to work on courseware. If your teacher doesn't have the availability to get in, look your stuff up, do what you need them to do, resource is a time where typically you could go see your coach real quick to have them do a quick fix, unlock, have a question about, what's loaded on there, anything like that. Print off guided notes again if you need them, anything like that. So resource period is a great time to work on your courseware.